Hey everyone, Airball here, and today we're taking on the best of three standard ladder with some blue-white control. But very quickly, before we get into the deck tech and gameplay elements of the video, I want to make a quick announcement. So DGen Gaming, a bunch of us have been given 10 playmats by Ultra Pro for the new Secret Lair, the Street Fighter Secret Lair. You can take a look at these. We have a bunch of these to give away, and I'm going to be giving away 3 of these on Twitter. So there's going to be a link to this tweet in the description below, but just very quickly, if you go over there, like and retweet, follow me and Ultra Pro, then on March 1st, I'm going to be picking 3 winners, and we will send these playmats out to those people. Ultra Pro is a very generous sponsor of the team, so this is one of the better ways to support me and the team itself. And also, the playmats are just pretty sweet. In particular, the Tamio one with Emrakul in the background, that one is really badass. So I'm looking forward to giving those away. I'll put a link to this tweet in the description below, but that is all you need to know as far as that's concerned. My teammates are also giving several away. If you go to the DGen Gaming Twitter, you should find theirs as well. So I hope you guys win. You guys who watch on YouTube, you're my favorites, and I hope you guys get a chance to, I hope you guys are the ones who will win it. So with that said, let's get into the deck tech. It's a standard blue-white control deck. This deck has kind of been forced out of standard in recent formats because it doesn't really go over the top in a huge way like a lot of the other blue-red control decks do. So we're not copying Allrun's Epiphany, we're not copying Alchemist Gambit, we're not spamming treasures with Goldspan Dragon, we're not playing Hinata with Magma Opus. This is just raw, pure blue-white control. So what enables us to do that? Now, well, we have some pretty good tools to deal with the early game creatures, which we haven't before. So in the past, these kinds of decks have been difficult to play because mono white and mono green have been so good against control decks. Obviously, our 4 copies of Doomscar don't do a lot against creatures like Old Growth Troll that come back, against mono white that has creature indestructibility and snakeskin veils, things like that. And we've been given some new tools from the Kamigawa set that make those matchups more palatable. So the first is March of Otherworldly Light, which is basically X plus a white to exile a creature with mana value X or less. That's pretty important. In Historic, this played really well against my Arclight Phoenix deck, but also just in Standard, casting this for 4 as a Vraska's Contempt to remove an Old Growth Troll is pretty sweet. And pitching useless cards in your hand to do this to exile an artifact or enchantment can be relevant as well. So in terms of other stuff we have from the new set, we also have 3 copies of the Wandering Emperor, which is a flash planeswalker for 4 mana. And you flash it in, and you can either create a 2/2 samurai token, or you can exile a creature and gain 2. And that's another element of removal that this deck has been missing. It's a exile removal spell that leaves something behind. And it's also a flash threat in the control mirrors, so if you flash this in on an opponent's end step, you can create the samurai right away, and you can keep creating the samurai when you untap. So now all of a sudden you have creatures and a planeswalker that can be difficult for your opponent to deal with. We also have, importantly, 3 copies of Farewell, which is it's basically a game over against mono green. It's basically a game over against black-white control. It's a modal board wipe, which exiles the things that it wipes. You can exile artifacts, creatures, enchantments, or graveyards. And this does a great job of cleaning up blood tokens, treasure tokens, eye twitches, Cursebound Witches, those kinds of things. Although obviously no Cursebound Witch in the format, but you get my point. Basically all those little speed bump creatures that have been painful because when they die they give your opponent value. Now all of a sudden they're not dying, they're getting exiled, which is pretty sweet. The last tool we got from the new set, other than the mana base, is the Restoration of Eiganjo. So one of the big downsides of Farewell is that it's 6 mana. So 6 mana for a board wipe is quite a lot. You might be dead before that happens. This is one way to mitigate that. So it's kind of like the Birth of Meletis used to be. You play it, and you get a Plains. So it's basically a land drop. Helps with the consistency of the mana base. For the second stage, you get to discard a card, and if you do, you get to put a permanent card from your graveyard with CMC 2 or less from your graveyard onto the battlefield tapped. That includes lands. So say you take your Plains into hand, then the second chapter of the saga goes off, you discard that Plains, and you can put it into play tapped. And now all of a sudden, Farewell isn't happening on turn 6, it's happening on turn 5. And that can make all the difference in the world. So now we are playing, in terms of win conditions, we do have 1 copy of Hullbreaker Horror. So that's the name of the game. We're trying to get to Hullbreaker Horror, slam it against both creatures and control, and hope that it carries the day. And this is the standard Hellbreaker horror. It's not the one from Alchemy and Historic that's nerfed. It can't be countered. So this is what we're aiming to slam in the control mirrors. If the opponent tries to lets it resolve and then tries to remove it, we have many other spells that can protect it. We have we have several counter spells in the form of Negate and Saw It coming. We have 4 copies of Revitalize, which give us some much needed life gain against the aggressive creature decks, and are also just a 2-mana memory lapse kind of effect or remand kind of effect to protect our Hullbreaker horrors. And then hopefully 2 turns go by and they're just dead. So that's the name of the game. It's a pretty traditional blue-white control deck. I'm very excited. This is my kind of Magic, and I'm excited to jump into some games and see how the deck does. Okay, on the play with a reasonably good anti-creature hand. Definitely going to keep this. We'll be a little sad if the opponent turns out to be control, but we do have the Disdainful Stroke and the Droid Disruption to fight back in that case. I'm not sure whether to play the Droid Disruption tapped as a land on turn 1 or not. Hengegate Pathway really does seem to want to come down on white at the moment. Given that we have the Revitalize, we have a turn 2 play no matter what. Yeah, I think I'm going to play the Droid Runes tapped, because I really want this to come down on white, and I don't want to get screwed on blue. Shattered Sanctum indicates what's probably a pretty good matchup for us. The black-white or the Esper decks, I think, are good matchups. Just because the card Farewell is so good against them. As long as we can avoid having Planeswalkers resolve or stick for too long, they can pretty much do whatever they want. And the opponent has kept a 1-lander tap land with Shambling Ghast. Whoops, I don't want to do that. Let's Revitalize. Found another Farewell, which is pretty good in the matchup, and Restoration's great, so we'll keep that for sure. Let's grab a Plains. Professor of Symbology, so that'll probably fetch Environmental Sciences and fix the opponent's mana issues, at least in the short term. But we don't care too much about that, so we will pitch the Plains for some ramp. And I think we're going to play this, given that we have 2 white already, we're going to play this on blue. We have March to be able to exile the Shambling Ghast, which might be where we want to be. Given that they could have, like, Deadly Dispute or something, but I think given that we're just getting into Farewell and we're going to exile the Shambling Ghast anyway, there's no reason to do anything but pump the brakes and go slow. This isn't enough pressure to hurt us. We have a creature coming in to block. In the following turn, so it's really, the ball is in the opponent's court to actually do something. So I think as long as we can prevent, like, Lolth from resolving with Disdainful Stroke, then we're okay. Yeah, not killing anything. We'll just take the 3. And untap. So we would love, like, a card draw spell. Memory Deluge or something would be great. But we're still in okay shape as it is. I think I want more white than blue against these creatures, but again, I think we're just gonna go slow. Looks like our 3/4 is not long for this world. This is acceptable to me. Could have Fateful Absence our own creature there, but that seems extreme. Just keep taking 3. It's not enough pressure for me to do anything yet. We will eventually have to spend this removal, but I don't want to do it until if I do cast this Farewell, for instance, I want to make sure I have the Disdainful Stroke available to hit a Lolth when it comes down. Which means I probably don't want to crack this Field of Ruin, because I actively do want to draw 1 more land. But we can't take this 3 forever. And the opponent is probably correctly not playing anything into it. So maybe at this point we do just cast the March to kill the Shambling Ghast. Maybe. No, I think we can wait 1 more turn. We found the land. Great. Okay. So let's... I think now is the time for the first Farewell, and this will encourage the opponent to slam like a Lolth or something into play, and we'll be able to Disdainfully Stroke it. Make sure when you do this that you do choose to exile all artifacts. If the opponent casts like Deadly Dispute, we want to make sure to be able to exile the treasure that comes along with it. Do we have a use for our graveyard right now? I think the answer is no. There's nothing to get back with another Iganjo, so I think we're just going to go for the full Monty. Yeah, so there's the Deadly Dispute, but because we named correctly with our Farewell, the treasure will go away unless they use it immediately. Okay. So the ball's in the opponent's court. They do have much more cards than we do, but we have much more mana, and our top decks are very good. If we ever get to the point where we get our Emperor, Wandering Emperor into play, then we should be pretty happy. Restoration, we can't do anything about it, but even if we could, I think we would be fine letting this resolve. Let's see. Do they have Sorin or something? They have a wedding announcement. So, wedding announcement, we can exile a white card in our hand to get rid of that wedding announcement, but I think the truth is we just want to play another Farewell to clean up all the enchantments and creatures that come with it, excuse me, and still hold up Disdainful Stroke. We did find the Memory Deluge, which is great. Let's hope they're out of gas, I guess. We could just wait. It's not like we're under an extraordinary amount of pressure. In fact, maybe we just main phase the Deluge here. Try to hit our land drops, more relevant spells. Playing the Deluge before the Farewell is a little awkward because we can't exile graveyards, but yeah, I think I actually like this. It's game 1, so they're unlikely to have like the hand hate spells. I think I like Wanderer and Restoration. We haven't made our land drop this turn, so we can Restoration into planes holding up Stroke, which protects us from the worst of what could happen to us. We also have Fateful Absence to deal with random stuff. Yeah, okay, let's do this. It's a control mirror. Hitting our land drops is very important. Also thins our deck, so we're more likely to find good stuff elsewhere, or in future turns. So we'll just say go here. Opponent was struggling on lands early. That's a good one to get back, but we do have 2 Fields of Ruin in play, so I'm not too concerned about that. It will be able to hit our Memory Deluge on future turns, so we do need to have an answer ready, but we're okay, I think. There's Sorin. Sorin is a stroke target for sure. We would be able to Fateful Absence him. Honestly, probably what they would have done would have been to minus him and create a creature, but this is fine. There's no real reason to discard the Field of Ruin to ramp, right? We don't have any permanents to put into play, so we'll decline. Because I'd rather the Field of Ruin come in untapped than tapped. And we have 10 mana available. I think we can sandbag the Farewell one more turn. And I would like to be able to Fateful Absence the Hive and cast Memory Deluge. And possibly get the Wanderer into play. So I think this is fine. I think... we Farewell now. Our Restoration is going to go away no matter what, so I was thinking maybe it would make sense to wait, or to do it now, so this would flip and not die when it became a creature, but this is okay. So we're not powering up the Hive. Not powering up the Hive is interesting. But Spidey senses are tingling, maybe. They expect that we have the Fateful Absence. And they don't do anything. Okay. So we can either Deluge or we can Wandering Emperor. I think I like Deluge here. Just keep hitting land drops. Lobster is definitely one that we want. Another Deluge is also pretty good. Fateful Absence is good. Revitalize is good. When combined, of course, with the Hullbreaker Horror. I already have a Fateful Absence. I kind of want to just keep drawing gas, honestly. March also hits the Hive as well, so I think we'll choose to use that instead. of the Fateful Absence to kill the Hive, because Fateful Absence hits a Planeswalker. And we will untap. So we could continue to be greedy with this Farewell. We do have a blocker in play. I honestly don't hate it. Soulbreaker, if we put it into play, is surely going to die. I wouldn't mind exhausting some creature removal from the opponent. What does suck is that the Wandering Emperor cannot remove this because it's vigilant. It'll never tap. So we have 11 mana. If that's enough to Farewell, Wandering Emperor, and nothing else. Which is kind of annoying. We can Farewell plus Deluge. Okay. We have one more Farewell left in the deck, right? Right. And we can dig for that with the other Deluge. Okay, and we'll say go. Can't think of anything they could do to punish us on our turn. Opponent's playing, it's playing well. They're not playing into our board wipes that they know that we have. The ideal here, I think, is for the opponent to power up the Hive, and then we can flash in the Wandering Emperor and get rid of it that way. Now that the Memory Deluge from the bin is gone. Okay. Yeah. So that's gonna have to get Fateful Absence, unfortunately. Which does make our turn awkward. Ooh, they draw with the Lolth? Okay. Interesting.
Go, my children.
They really want the card. Shambling Ghast, okay. So I wanted to wait until they declared their play with the Shambling Ghast before I decided to Fateful Absence the Lolth, because I don't want them to be able to crack the clue too quickly. I kind of like Memory Deluge, though. It's by far the most mana-efficient thing we can do. Okay. Let's cast Deluge on their end step. And then we can Fateful Absence on our turn. There's not really a significant punish for doing that. What do we want? Do we want more land, or do we want another Wandering Emperor? Probably Wandering Emperor. The Flash element plays so well with the Hullbreaker Horror. So we have 11 mana free. We can Hullbreaker Horror plus Fateful Absence plus Hold Up Revitalize to protect the Hullbreaker Horror, which I think I like quite a bit. None of that has to be done right now. We can wait. Possibly even snipe a spell on the stack, like a Sorin or something. There's nothing we're going to prevent from resolving. The opponent has too much mana now, but we can still make their play awkward. That's kind of cute. They're going to put the Meat Hook Massacre back into play. That is okay with me. I suppose I should have acted before they untapped, because I shouldn't have given them another Lolth activation. But now that they've gone into combat, this is okay. So let's have them attack first, I think. Now we're going to flash in a Lobster. And I want to cast this Fateful Absence on the Lolth, I think. No, let's go to blocks first. See if they have a kill spell for the Horror here. No, they're being too patient. We're going to kill this Lolth now, then. And I'm not going to bounce anything.
Traitors, all of you.
And we have Revitalize to bounce any important spell back to their hand. I don't think I played that last turn perfectly, but I think I played it well enough. If we untap, then we're in great shape. If they have a kill spell for the Lobster here, it would be weird. I suppose Rite of Oblivion would make some sense. yeah, so now what we can do is we can just revitalize and we can bounce the lobster back to our hand. And they need another kill spell, but we saw during combat that they didn't have one at instant speed. So I think this is probably a pretty safe thing to do. And now what? And now we're drawing with the clue. Okay, so slowly but surely we are grinding them out. They have very few cards left now. Wedding Announcement's a good one. They attacked with only one creature, so it's going to be a token this time. Doomscar is pretty good. So, what to do? We want to get the Hullbreaker Horror back in play, but right now the Rite of Oblivion will just hit it. They have too much good stuff to sacrifice. So I think what I do want to do is cast the Amaria's Call, put blockers in play, tax their removal a little bit before we put the lobster back into play, and we have the Wandering Emperor available to flash back in, and the March as well. If they deal with one or the other, to deal with a hive that attacks to hit our Memory Deluge. So yeah, here we go. The Flip Saga is, of course, annoying. Again, the Wandering Emperor does not deal with it, but the Doomscar in our hand does. And it can't profitably attack into the 4/4 anyway. So we would like to find something like a negate or whatever to... interesting. So they're just going to kill everything. Sure. That's fine with me. We will take 2. And what's that last card? Sorin, Loth. Okay, they get another token, which is fine. And we will play our Emperor. We get to make a Samurai.
I've learned much during my travels.
Wandering Emperor also plays around the sorcery speed removal that's common in some of these decks, especially Rite of Oblivion. So now they have to wait a whole turn cycle. I do think that the Wandering Emperor is probably not long for this world. I am going to attack first without pumping. And now we've drawn Saw It Coming, so the Hullbreaker Horror is likely to live. They could have another Meat Hook Massacre. That would, I think, be fine. And they scoop it up. Yeah, so matchup is pretty good, right? Like, the opponent played about as well as they could around our board wipes, but in doing so, they had to make their clock so short that we were able to just establish dominance eventually with the Hullbreaker Horror. And our card draw spells, which they don't have access to. So, against them, Portable Hole seems pretty good. Divine Smite seems great. Disdainful Stroke, I think, is important, as is Negate. Their creatures don't really matter. It's only really the non-creature spells that do any damage. Another Hullbreaker Horror seems kind of... Let's see. This deck did come with a sideboard guide. Let's see. Yeah, they bring in Negate, Smite, Behold. They do bring in the Lobster and the Test of Talents, which I think is justifiable, although I'm not in love with them. Hullbreaker Horror dies to their Vanishing Verses pretty easily. But Test of Talents I think is probably fine, especially to hit the Rite of Oblivion, which is one of their more resilient ways to stay in the game more resiliently. Out come all 4 Doomscars. Out comes a March, which I think is interesting, but I guess because their major threats to us are Planeswalkers, not anything, not like creatures. I guess that's fine. Out comes a Revitalize because it's just kind of low impact. They're not aggressive enough, and 1 Joy Disruption. I guess when you have 3 copies of Restoration, you're you have the flexibility to cut some of these dual face cards for lands, because you're effectively playing 3 plus your normal mana base plus 4 copies of Joy Disruption plus 2 Amaria's Call, so you can be a little more picky. But we're still up 3 cards, so did I bring in something that they didn't? Yeah, they say not to bring in the Hullbreaker Horror, or not the Portable Hole in the sideboard guide, which is kind of cool. It's kind of interesting. And what else did I bring in? Bring in a 1 of anything. So it's 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, they didn't bring in the extra stroke. Okay. That's fine. I'm not sure that's how I would have chosen to sideboard, but who am I to disagree with the sideboard guide, of course. Why load it up if I wasn't planning on using it? So on the draw, with again, a pretty reasonable opening hand, I think if we draw a land, we might hold on to the Dry Disruption. If we draw a spell, we will play it. We may not get that option. It's possible they'll just take it from us. I do want to curve out to 3 to be able to play the Restoration. So they took the Dry Disruption, which is pretty interesting. That probably means they have something that they badly want to resolve early in the game. Maybe a wedding announcement or something like that. So we'll have to be a little wary of playing our Restoration. No, they've kept 2-lander and are unable to play anything. Great. That is good news for us. We can hold up Negate if we want to. I think because I want the ramp from the Restoration, actually, I want to play the Ameria's Call. I want to have 2 lands in hand so that I can discard 1 and play 1 on the following turn. When Ameria's Call is a spell when it's in the graveyard, so you cannot recur it to the battlefield with Restoration. And we just win. Okay, so kind of an anticlimax there when opponent keeps a 2-lander. I think they were trying to mana screw us by taking the Dwyer Disruption, but obviously that didn't happen. We drew 2 lands off the top. And that's great. So that's the first game in the books. Let's go on to the next one. Okay, on the play with removal spells and counter spells, so we're prepared for just about anything we might find. I think we lead with the island here, although it probably doesn't matter too much. So this is green-white, I guess enchantments. I do want double blue pretty badly, but I also don't want to... Yeah, I want to hold up Negate and Sock Negate here. I'm not really sure what they could play on turn 2. It's possible I'm just supposed to foretell the Sock coming, but Fateful Absence killing like their 2-mana enchantment discount creature, whatever, Jukai Naturalist, something like that, seems important. Could also be like Naya Runes. Cameo of Transience is a frustrating one, because we kill it, but it will come back. But there is some chance that it's their only creature, and if it's like auras, then this is okay. Find Farewell, which is like the nut against them. Let's play this on blue, hold up Saw It Coming. If there's nothing we want to Saw It Coming, then we can just untap, and we'll have 4 mana next turn to punish them with Deluge. Farewell is a card that we're going to want to be greedy with in the matchup. I don't think we're going to want to fire it off right away. And I think that we want to be able to hit as much as possible with it, so I want to be stingy with the Saw It Coming. Like, if it's something that Farewell will clean up, then I think I want to hold on to the Saw It Coming. And the Memory Deluge's job will just be to find us the cards, like the lands, to be able to cast it. Exile in the Graveyard, particularly relevant against this Kami. Which, if an enchantment card goes to their graveyard this turn, then they get to recur it to their hand. So Farewell should be really, really good against them. So this is Naya, this is Runes. I know I said I wanted to be stingy with the Saw coming, but like this replaces itself. It makes their stuff cheaper. They could haste it up into a fairly big attacker next turn. I actually am going to counter this. Okay. And we can Memory Deluge this turn. And if they have like Showdown of the Skalds or something, then Negate will be available for that. Yeah, so like the combo of Runeforge Champion and Naturalist is why I wanted to cast Saw coming there, because I didn't want to let them just have free runes for the rest of the game. This is fine, though. These runes all replace themselves, of course. but we have answers, and I said Memory Dealer's job was going to be to find lands, and find lands it did. That's pretty good against them too, realistically. We may bounce that to have the runes fall off. We'll see. Problem is these runes just replace themselves, and we're not going to find card advantage off of the board wipes. So we do need to find a way to close out the game. The deck is fairly self-sustaining. If they tap their green or something here, Hallowed Haunting. You control 7 or more enchantments. Creatures you control have flying and vigilance. When you cast an enchantment spell, create a white spirit cleric creature. So that does get wiped up pretty effectively by Farewell. So that's going to resolve. Especially because it doesn't do anything yet. And we would actually love it if they committed a ton to the board here. Like, ideally, they play, like, land, rune, rune. Casting Farewell into what is fairly reasonably likely to be a showdown of the Scald's turn kind of scares me. Let's see what they find. I guess I was supposed to foretell the Doomscar last turn. I really did want to hold this available, but there's probably no situation where I am going to bounce something to their hand. So I should have just taken the discount where I could find it. I really, really, really want to have... Yeah, I absolutely must have negate for that. So... yeah, probably just sending this back, honestly. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you get the token. Okay. I think the plan is going to be to bounce this next turn. Negate their showdown. And go from there. Oh, we found Farewell. Okay. I don't think the plan has changed. 4 + 2 lets us clear their entire board, but we're going to Farewell this Naturalist anyway. I think now is the time to foretell the Doomscar. And we'll make a decision about which of these things to cast. The opponent will probably make that decision for us. They'll probably just jam the showdown here. Rune of Might is acceptable. Rune of Speed is also fine. So we're going to take a bit of a bump here. But we do have Doomscar to be able to still hold up negate if that's what we decide we want to do. We're taking 7. I am okay taking 7. Found Revitalize? Okay. And I think I just want to be getting to the point where I can Farewell and hold up Gate, right? Yeah, so we'll just play this as a land now, I think. Ideally what happens here is they jam the showdown, we negate it, and we get to cast Revitalize. Now, opponent is stubbornly holding on to showdown. Nope, there it is. I suppose we can be patient, at least a little bit. Start with Revitalize, see what we find, but there is, I don't think, any world where I don't negate this. It's just a little bit too good. You get a 1/1, that is fine with me. Play this tapped, and I am concerned that the last card in their hand is another showdown. Right, like, not the last card in their hand, obviously. They still have 6 cards because they've drawn off of literally everything. Yeah, they do have another one. So we can try to dig for another counterspell, which I think is probably correct. I don't want this showdown to resolve. No. Oh, we do. We found Troy Disruption. Sweet. So we'll take that, and I think I do want more land. Right. We have 8 mana. We have a Deluge to find more land. Okay, I'll take the Revitalize, I suppose. But yeah, we can't tolerate showdown resolving. Just too good. Just too good. Take 4 down to 10. Wandering Emperor is, like, not bad, but I think now is the time to farewell, because we could just get hasted out by the tokens produced by the Hollow Daunting. And if you find the 3rd Showdown of the Skulls, then, you know, congratulations, you're a much better Magic player than I am. Obviously don't exile the graveyards, right? Yeah, that Kami is not in their graveyard anymore. So, just everything else. Nice bonus, we get to exile the clue. We could revitalize main phase to try to hit our land drop. There's no way if they have another showdown that they're not playing it, right? Alright, we'll cast revitalize and see if we can hit our land drop. Nope. Okay. Kamigawa Spirits gets to dig deep for another showdown. They find a rune. So now they get to play their Kami and haste it up. But it's their... This is their last gasp. Okay, so they're out. They have nothing left after this. So two random blanks off the top. Restoration's pretty good. We have 8 mana. We can Restoration plus Doomscar. We can Restoration plus Wandering Emperor, but I really think I want to get both of their creatures off the board. Though, the beginning of each end step, so they'd get this right back if I don't farewell this. Though it's probably supposed to be Restoration plus Farewell. Do I have another Plains in the deck, I guess is an important question. I do. Okay, let's do that. And do I want to exile enchantments? I think it's just creatures, right? Yeah, because I want to keep my restoration around. And I suppose artifacts, because why not? So the runes can enchant permanents. So these runes can target their own lands if that's what they decide they want to do, and they can still draw cards that way. But that's pretty good. Luckily, they don't have anything they can do with it yet. We don't have any good reason to... I guess we do, right? Do we have lands in the bin? I think I do want to discard the Hall here, because I can cast the Memory Deluge and play a land this turn, untapped. Yeah, let's do that. Restoration's pretty good, and Behold is also pretty good. Let's do this. And I don't want Doomscar to get interfered with in any way, so we'll do this. I do fear Tron, right? Like, they can get this Jukai Naturalist down, for instance, put a Rune of Speed on it, and we take a bunch. The runes keep drawing, because of course they do, but, like, they are halfway through their deck. We've seen a lot of runes at this point. A hasty rune is probably Lights Out. Alright, they are out of gas. So Doomscar, I think, is basically forced. At that point, we will have 7 mana left, which is enough to cast another Restoration and hold up Wandering Emperor or Behold. Yeah, because we'll get a Plains, right? Oh no, I made my land drop this turn already. Oops. Yeah, this sucks. I thought I would have enough white to be able to cast the Wandering Emperor to protect against a hasty creature. This Lair actually is going to be hitting us for 6. I didn't even notice the creature land. Oh boy. Save me, behold the multiverse. Alright, well, you're doing your part. How much white do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's start with another restoration, I think. And we can hold up Wandering Emperor plus Revitalize. Yeah, scary stuff. Nice, okay. Couldn't push through the last 2 points of damage. Man, that is a slog. Let's see, do we have a sideboard guide for this one? Nope, we are on our own. So what do we want? Divine Smites doesn't seem like it's any good. Portable Hold does. Ray of Frost doesn't. Negate seems fine. Like, it hits like half their deck. Lobster actually seems pretty good when they don't have a good way to interact with it. We just need to get there. Normally against the aggressive decks, I would want to board out things like Saw It Coming, because they're kind of slow. But it does hit their Hallowed Haunting, but I guess the point has to be that Farewell is going to deal with that stuff. Honestly, Sunset Revelry seems like a reasonable include. They don't give Trample super easily. They have to find a specific rune for that. They keep drawing, so it's not crazy that they'll have more cards in hand or that their life total will be higher. We could get a pretty good Revelry off. So what to cut? I think, given that, I think I'm okay cutting the Saw It Comings. I want to keep the Farewell. I want to keep Memory Deluge because they don't have any significant graveyard hate. Disdainful Stroke I don't think hit too much, right? It hit Hallowed Haunting. It hit Showdown. Showdown is a very important card. Maybe I am supposed to cut it, though. It doesn't hit enough when we have 4 copies of Negate. And a Showdown when they don't have a board. Like, if we Farewell and they Showdown onto an empty board, then that's, like, okay. It gives us some time to recover. This is kind of tough, honestly. March is probably kind of mopey. It's basically murder. Unless we pay extra cards for it, which I don't want to do. Jwari Disruption, we've seen we can cut that. Maybe 2 Lobsters is still too many. We just need to find one. One more cut. I guess Revitalize if we're bringing in the Sunset Revelries. That'll be our 2-mana life gain spell of choice. Okay, sure. I think this is a reasonably good opening hand. We'll play the Amaria's Call tapped. It'll give us access to Portable Hole for their 2-drop enchantment discounter. Yeah, that one can probably go. Like, we can say go, hold up Jwari Disruption. We'll take a bit of a bump. But I think we want to exile this, right? This is the one that keeps coming back from the graveyard. Let's just do this. And do I want to play the Jwari Disruption tapped? I think the answer is yes, because I don't think we're going to want to be holding the mana open. I think, yeah. I think we'll foretell the Doomscar and we wouldn't be able to Jwari Disrupt their Hallowed Haunting anyway. That tramples, it's kind of annoying. We'll foretell the Doomscar, as is our wont, and play Deserted Beach, say go. This could be a real turn for them. We were unable to interact with this. They just slammed the Showdown. Okay. Not a great hit for them, honestly. Welcoming Vampire, pretty good in the deck. Maybe it was a pretty good hit for them. I initially thought this was Hallowed Haunting. Alright, so they're going to be able to cast 2 spells next turn and draw some cards off of it. That's going to put the Naturalist up to a 6 damage attacker, at which point we'll be able to follow up with Doomscar. We can Sunset Revelry if that's what we decide we want to do here. It is a little mana inefficient. Their Naturalist does trample through, and it does mean that our Doomscar is going to hit our own creatures. So possibly we're just supposed to be patient here, cast Memory Deluge, take a hit, and then Doomscar the follow-up. Obviously they don't need to cast stuff from their exile zone, but they're highly incentivized to. Yep. And hopefully we can find, like, Farewell or something to eventually clean up this board. The resilience of this deck is quite annoying. They don't attack? Wow. Why wouldn't you attack there? We'll take the Lobster for sure. We have another Memory Deluge. I think it's... yeah. We already have plenty of land, but we do have a Lobster that we want to cast. We got things to do. We saw the Lair of the Hydra out of them last game. I guess we'll take the Field of Ruin this time. And they have 6 cards in hand. So if we Doomscar the board and then Sunset Revelry, we'll gain life, draw a card. That's, like, not bad. We can also Doomscar Foretell Behold the Multiverse. And then they play their creatures. We'll get to Sunset Revelry for value, plus draw a card the following turn, maybe. Okay. Yeah, okay, let's do this. It also gives us a cheap instant speed spell to later go with the Hullbreaker Horror. It's a minor point, but it could matter. And we have fought successfully through the first showdown of the Scalds. 1 down, 3 to go. That card is so unbelievably good against us. I love this card so much. I hate playing against it, though. We still have 3 Farewells left in the deck. We are 15 cards in and have not found one yet, so we are about due. A little more than due when you consider we cast a Memory Deluge and didn't find one. So we should expect one, or we can expect one soon-ish. Runeforge Champion is going to demand another... they're going to demand another board wipe soon enough. Rune of Speed is going to get something in hasty. Probably the Visitor, I would think. Okay, so now they get to dump their whole hand of enchantments. They could go off here. This could be really bad. Their runes are effectively free. Every rune draws a card and pumps up their champion. Like with the showdown trigger. We could just die. Alright, board wipe or bust. Not quite, but almost as good, honestly. So now we get to Wandering Emperor minus on the Runeforge Champion, gain 2, cast Sunset Revelry for the full value. I guess we can start with that. That seems pretty good. Let's do that. Finding Fateful Absence as well. That's pretty sweet. We'll get rid of that. We'll gain 2, go up to 13. We have broken their combo for now, but still I don't feel like I'm out of the woods. Welcoming Vampire, really good. They're just going to keep drawing cards until the end of time. Maybe there's some world where we deck them. Generous Visitor, sure. And Rune of Speed. Yeah. So that's trample, haste. 5/5 trample, haste? Okay. 6/5 trample, haste. Sorry. Now, they attack our face. Well, we're definitely going to keep the Wanderer alive, I think. Because she just replaces herself at worst next turn. And we're going to go down to 7 here. Do we want to go down to 5? I don't think this is going to be blocking anything much bigger than this in the future, because this is going to trample anyway, and they're just going to keep putting all the resources into that. I think this is what we're supposed to do. Hopefully we can just rip Farewell off the top. No. Okay. So there's not enough mana to cast Behold the Multiverse here, and cast Farewell, so we're probably just saying go. Fateful Absencing whatever their biggest threat is. I think I do want to just get rid of the Wanderer here. Chump one thing on the ground, and we can Behold Fateful Absence and possibly Fateful Absence again. But I am scared. A showdown of the Scalds here would be terrible news. Why do I talk? God, this is rough. Let's see. Can we find a counterspell? Yes. And hopefully we don't just die. I think there's a reasonable chance that we do. Yeah. So if these both get to 7/7, there's nothing we can do. Block, kill, dead. Yeah. Jeez, this deck is tough to play against. Like, it seems like it would have a hard time against like the go way over the top of you control decks, like the Hinata, Magma Opus stuff. I just don't see what this deck does against the turn 5 Magma Opus, but like the cards are super resilient against blue-white control specifically, and our answers don't line up great. So yeah, we were kind of lucky to win game 1, period, I think. We didn't even get to the point where we were realistically considering casting the Lobster, so I don't know that I want another one. Revitalize doesn't seem great. I think our boarding is actually okay. It's just we don't have a whole lot of ways to answer their threats. Their stuff just grows so fast. Reasonable hand on the play. We'll keep this. I think the plan will be to hold on to Jwari Disruption for at least one turn. See if we draw another land. Pull mulligans, which we love to see. We do need that. And if we're going to hold the Jwari Disruption, let's just get the Deserted Beach down. Wandering Emperor is something that we love to see. I think I'm fine playing Ottawa. Maybe I was supposed to play the Jwari Disruption there with the intention of casting Restoration and discarding a land to ramp. Because we definitely do want to play Restoration next turn. This is like the advantage of being on the play, is that we can play the Restoration next turn without fear of Showdown immediately coming down to punish us. And then the following turn we'll be able to portable hole one of their creatures and hold up Negate for the Showdown. And if they do nothing, then we can cast the Wandering Emperor on their end step. Put it in the tank on turn 2. Probably deciding what thing they want to get disrupted the most. Yeah, that makes sense. So I think that's a reasonable portable hole target. Do I want to disrupt this, is the question. If I disrupt it, then next turn play Restoration. Then they play Runeforge Champion. Then that does not get hit by Portable Hole and grows. Whereas if we don't do that, next turn play Restoration, take the hit, they play Runeforge Champion anyway. We don't really have a great answer because we're not holding up mana. Yeah, okay, let's just cast the Dwarf Disruption here because we're not going to be casting it for the next few turns. Find Farewell, that's great news. I'm going to play this on blue because I want to find... I'm going to get a Plains with the Restoration here. Alright, so Runeforge Champion is probably the thing that we least want to see, but it's still kind of okay if it happens. Welcoming Vampire doesn't get hit by Portable Hole. We do not have any ramp here into Farewell, so we're going to decline. Play Plains, and I think the plan here is going to be to flash in the Wandering Emperor. Yeah, don't love it. Sure. It's gonna trigger their vampire. Heads up play doing that pre-combat. Wow, and they're not even... They see the Wandering Emperor coming. Opponent is playing well. So we'll create our Samurai. Play the Deserted Beach, I suppose, and I think we're going to play our Portable Hole here to get rid of this Naturalist, because it represents too much of a threat, I think. I don't want the Wandering Vampire to be able to kill the Wanderer, so I think we're just going to pump this up and attack with the Vigilant, first striking 3/3. Sunset Revelry draws a card. That's all. We just cycle it. I think we'll probably be able to get more value out of it later. So we'll say go. Catilda is pretty good, honestly. Rune of Might. So we can negate this to keep the Wanderer alive. I don't think I want to. I really do think it's important to hold up negate for their showdown. And we can kind of crack back against them with our board.
Until next time, then.
Alright, so we'll start... I think we'll just start with an attack. Our entire board's vigilant, so there's little cost to doing this. Play Field of Ruin, and now it's... Now I think I'm just going to Sunset Revelry. I think the odds that we draw something good are high enough. We have 4 mana with which to cast other stuff. Say go. This Welcoming Vampire is definitely frightening. Shiko's Reign of Truth. So that will pump the vampire up to a... This is going to be an extra 3. No, this itself is not a artifact or enchantment. Yeah, it'll pump for 3. This will be a 5 lifelinker in the air. I think this is okay. I do feel strongly that this is bait for to try to resolve a showdown. Although I suppose they played Lair, so maybe it's not. I think I am going to crack the Field of Ruin for deck thinning. Like, normally this is not something that you would want to do, but we're safe for another few turns from creature lands. We have a land in hand anyway. We badly do not want to draw a land. So... Revitalize. Okay. I'm not going to Farewell this turn, I don't think. Am I? We're going to take 3, 6, 9. Okay, well, let's attack first. I think they have a Wanderer? That's what it feels like, right? 4 mana, do nothing. So if they have Wanderer into, like, Showdown of the Skulls, that's disaster for us. Is there anything at sorcery speed I would play if I drew it? Revitalize into, say, Restoration. What do we do? Yeah, we would do that, right? Okay, let's start with Revitalize then. Finding the Wanderer is pretty good, honestly. Alright. We'll say go. And now, like, if they attack out, we exile the thing with the Wanderer and they showdown us. That's not so bad, right? How do we feel about that? Any one of their creatures is likely to be an enchantment itself, right? Except the ones that they generate from the Hollow Taunting. Oh boy. Okay, so let's do this. Let's negate this. And the plan will be, if they don't kill us, then we can Wandering Emperor the following turn. I fear Showdown. We find another negate. That's really, really, really good. Alright, so we have the option here to Farewell. If we Farewell on Enchantment, it's just the runes that go away and this. In fact, we lose our own creature, so we'd have to name creature, and then Showdown is coming. So I think we're just supposed to say go here. If they pump up a creature in the air to the point where it's a serious threat, then the Wanderer will deal with that, and we have negate back up. Oh, that's kind of cute that that flipping trips the vampire. They're attacking for 7 in the air. This is forced. Do we want to exile the vampire, or do we want to exile Catilda? The answer is probably that it doesn't matter. Tough call. Vampire draws some cards. It's already triggered this turn. Let's kill the lifelinker. Won't give us the oops with their snakeskin veil. So we were forced to negate there, and now if they have Showdown, then that's kind of scary. Yeah, so this is what I was a little afraid of. That's really, 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 really good. So we can exile the whole board with Farewell, which is probably the right thing to do. But can we kill them? Say we pump with the Wandering Emperor. Pump here, say. Block, block. No, they have a 4/4 lifelinker, which is going to make it impossible to make progress, unfortunately. So probably what we have to do, unfortunately, is Farewell this board. Right? Unless we can find an answer to this 4/4, but one doesn't really seem to exist. So it's probably this. We can do this, actually. We can pump here and attack. Because of the first strike. I go to 2. Okay. So let's exile creatures and enchantments and graveyards. Not artifacts, importantly. And we'll say go. And we'll see if they can get out of this. Land go. We love it. We love it. We love it. And now I think I am just kind of into...
Keep watch for
We
intruders.
can cast a Maria's Call and probably just win, right? This is a blank. If it's a rune and they draw a creature off the top, then they can block our 2/2. If it's... I think I'm going to cast this. Worst case is they rip Showdown as the Skulls off the top. Of course, of course, of course. But if they don't have a creature, then that's nothing. Okay, okay, okay. Sweet. That's a good way to end it. So these games took forever, as you would probably expect blue-white control to go. But I'm pretty happy with how the deck plays. It definitely does have a tendency to run out of gas. And especially against decks with this level of resiliency built in, and decks that are playing Showdown on the Skulls, it's pretty scary, but I'm glad we got there in the end. So, again, check the description in the box below for a link to the tweet, the giveaway tweet, and I am hopeful that one of you guys will win one of those sick playmats. They look really awesome. Anyway, that's all for today. I will see you guys in the next one. Later.